Hey, my name is Diane Gibbs, and I'm a graphic design professor at the University of South Alabama. And I also have a podcast called Design Recharge. It's a video podcast, and I've been using Zoom for about 4 years. And I use it about 10 times a week. I do a lot of calls. I do coaching calls and meetings and all kinds of things with clients. I have clients that I use it with, as well as I've used it in my classes, and I use it for lots of things. So I want to tell you how I think you, as another professor, will be able to utilize this. So you don't just have to be a visual professor to do this. I'm going to walk you through some basic things about Zoom. So you should be able to see my screen, and I'm so sorry, I have so many things open probably. You have the mute. You have a little caret next to mute. You have the stop video of another caret next to it. Here's the thing. You have to do some troubleshooting with your students. As soon as they come in, you should probably have them start out on mute, which means there'll be a big red X through there. It is really important that you have earbuds in when you are doing a recording for, or even a live session, a live meeting, because there's a lot of feedback. You need to tell your students also that they need to have earbuds in or headphones or something. Just having it like this, like I am right now, is not a good idea because it's really difficult, and you sometimes hear the reverb, and then that kid, you have to physically mute them, and sometimes that stuff has to happen too. But I'm going to walk you through one of the first things I do is that people need to accept audio in the bottom left-hand corner. I have this so many places, this already written out, because they can usually see me, but they can't hear me. And they also have to accept audio for their mic. So these are things that you could just write on a piece of paper, just like I did, accept audio in bottom left-hand corner. The other thing is in that caret right next to it is where your settings are. Well, I have a Yeti microphone, which allows me to sound better, but you don't need that. Just even having your earbuds, your Apple earbuds or your whatever earbuds or headphones that have a mic, because sometimes computers don't have that really has helped. So this is your microphone. So I'm selecting my Yeti, and then I would select the output, which is not going to be my speaker because I don't want anybody else to hear, if there's a delay or anything. So I also have it coming out, and my earbuds are actually connected to my Yeti. So then I have this Yeti. I think you're able to see everything. And then I can adjust things. I can check the audio settings here, but this is the basic thing. So on your computer, I'm on a Mac, there's some sort of preferences about where your stuff's coming from. Well, Zoom allows you to change it just for Zoom. So it's really important that you don't just set it in your preferences on your computer, that you also set, like I would set it in sound. I could have my output set to my MacBook speakers. So if I was playing something, you would be able to hear them right now. And I would be able to hear them because I don't have my earbuds in. But it doesn't matter. What your settings are on your computer is very different than what your Zoom settings are. So one of the most common things I've run into in the last 4 years is that people are like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. And it's because they need to accept audio. So before all of this comes up, if you see the caret, it would say accept audio. So then once you've accepted audio, then you would be able to see all this stuff. Same thing with the camera. I have 2 cameras on this computer. One came with the computer, and then one is an external. But video quality is not as important as audio quality. So obviously I'm not going to tell you to get a really expensive mic. Even just a lavalier mic, those are like $29 on Amazon. But really, you just need earbuds. Earbuds with a mic is totally fine. It doesn't have to be rocket science. You just want to have something more than maybe just, but even if you don't, then just use the one that's there. But a lot of earbuds are really cheap that have a mic with them. You just want to test it and see what sounds good. So have a friend call. So the other thing is great is I have set up my calendar. I'm going to show you this. I've set up my calendar. So I have a class. Again, I teach graphic design, so sorry about my dog. So I have a class, and I set it up for this. This is always going to be at this for the rest of the semester. It's going to be this link. So the kid doesn't have to look up what the link is every day and be confused. So I think making it as simple as possible. And so I've given them this link so that they have that. And so that both my classes. Now I did do all of my advising appointments I have for 15 minutes, and each one is different because I didn't want a kid to be able to pop into somebody else's advising appointment or office hour when someone's talking to me one-on-one. And this is just one of the parts that I've done. I just went ahead and had it as a repeating. So I'm going to show you how to do that really quick. So I click on, say I'm going to do a recurring meeting. Again, I'm going to go ahead and let's just say I'm teaching another class called ARS 272, which would be typography for us. I am not teaching that, but let's just say it's going to be a recurring meeting. Then the dates go away. I do not want to require a password. I'm going to have my host on, my video on, and my participants' video on, but they can use a telephone and computer audio. This is the best. I don't usually ever click the advanced settings, but here's what it is. A waiting room is where you will actually have to accept them in, and that is not what we want. We want this to be as easy as possible, and so you can enable them to join before the host, or you can uncheck that. And then if I am going back to this, I might want to mute my participants on entry so that they're not coming in super loud. If I want to adjust this or I want to edit this, I want to let it go to my Google Calendar, and I'm going to hit save, going to sign in to my Google account, right? And then it's going to tell me that this is the URL. I'm just going to say that it does repeat. I'm going to tell it when it starts. So say it starts on next Tuesday at 4 p.m. to 4:30 Central Time, my time. And I'm going to say that it does repeat, and I'm going to do a custom because my classes are on Tuesday and on Thursday. So, and I'm going to have it repeat for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, or you could have it at the end of the semester or after a certain number of occurrences. But you got to think about it. It's not just Thursday and you're going to do Thursday for 3 weeks. It's actually Tuesday and Thursday. So that would be six occurrences if you were doing occurrences. So you just kind of have to do that math. But ending on is a good way to do it. This is really Google. This is not Zoom, but this is helpful. So I'm just going to say it. Well, I don't want to say it never ends. So I'm just going to say it repeats after to hit done. And this is it. So this would be the link that I would share if I needed to share the whole thing. There it is right there. And then I would just hit save. And then now it's going to go in my calendar as ARS 272. It's going to start on Thursday the 19th. But now you see that it's coming on Tuesday. It was just repeating for 1 week. That's why it didn't do it any longer. But I could go in and I could edit that here, and I would be able to change this going back to custom and say I wanted to do it for 12. Do that, and now when we go back, now it's there. But it's super simple to change that back, right? Because I don't really need this there. So I'm just going to click it again, hit edit, and then I'm just going to delete. And I'm going to say this and following events because it doesn't need to be there. All right, so back to Zoom and back to the web of Zoom. So this is when you log into Zoom, you have some preferences that are advanced preferences. This is actually zoom.us. This is my account. And you can have things where your host video and your participants video is on. I'm just going to take you through some basic things. Allow to join before the host. If you don't mind students being in there, that's absolutely fine. My classes are back to back, so I don't, they wouldn't be able to go in there anyway, so I just don't want them to get frustrated. And then one thing that I absolutely had to do that is very distracting. I don't want any sounds, so play a sound when a participant joins or leaves. I turn that off because I absolutely don't want that. The file transfer is really helpful. So if, say, you're sharing a PDF or you're sharing a Word file or whatever, you can turn that on. So that's really nice. And you could turn it so it's only sharing specific file types. But again, you could probably do that in whatever your learning management system is as well. Let's see. You can... the polling is really kind of neat if you wanted to ask your students, have some questions pre-done. These aren't graded. These are just a poll, right? To see what people are thinking or feeling or something like that. And then let's see. So screen sharing is really important for me as a designer because I want to be able to see their screen, and I can take their mouse and I can have control just like I would in the classroom. But I only want, as a host, I want to be able to start sharing someone else's screen. I don't want another student to be able to do that. So I want to be able for them to share their screen. I also like the annotation. That was really nice. I don't usually use the whiteboard, so you can take that or leave it. Remote control is the one where I can actually take over their mouse and show them what I want them to do. So I really like that. And the breakout rooms are really important. I like that as well. That means that if you have small group discussions, say you're teaching English or psychology or philosophy, and you break them into groups of 5, and you want them to discuss something. For us in graphic design or in any art, we might break into small groups and do critique or brainstorm. And then that way they can do that in those smaller rooms, which is really powerful. And then you can ask them to come back. You can call them back and say, hey, you have a minute left, to all the groups, to all the rooms. And then let's see what else. So if you have to do closed captioning, I don't know if you're familiar, but you can use something called Thyssen, Thysten. It is free from Google, and that means they can download the app, and then whatever they hear, it will tell them what's happening. So that's a free service. I know there is closed captioning. Some schools offer closed captioning, but it usually does cost something. So Thyssen would be a good one to figure out. This is the one I want you to definitely uncheck because virtual backgrounds can be very distracting, especially what I've seen. I do not allow anybody to do a virtual background anymore because it's really fun for them, but it's really distracting for everybody else for them to keep changing their background. And we have enough trouble with attention, so I turn that off. I do have the chat open. The chat is great, and I allow people to connect to other people in chat doing they can, I'll show you in a second, but you could have a conversation, a private conversation with somebody in the chat. So let's go back to Zoom. And so here's some things that you might want to do. Manage participants. One of the things, as the host, I can't see this, but if I wasn't the host, I would be able to see something, raise my hand. And it's in this, they can see something called participants. They can click on it, and then they could raise their hand, and then it shows you that it has a little hand, a little blue hand, so that you know who has a question, because hopefully they're muted, but then that way you can visually see. The other thing is that we can't see right now. Maybe I could see it if I log in. Anyway, it is gallery view. But anyway, so this is, you could bring somebody. You don't really need this unless you have lots of people on, but it's not a problem. But that is how they will go in to be able to raise their hand. The polling are things that you can add questions to. It is really kind of fun, especially it maybe takes a little bit light off of this, but the chat is incredible. Here's where the files can be shared, and here, this, you could say participants can chat with everyone publicly and privately, meaning that I could, if I was on here and Jose was on here and I wanted to just send Jose a message, then I could just say something to Jose. I actually leave that. I think it's really important to build community, that there can be some privacy as well, because sometimes you might not want to say something to everybody, but hopefully you have, just because it's personal, or you're trying to connect with just Jose, right? Anyway, so that's really helpful. The breakout rooms is the amazing part, right? So you can allow, there aren't any other people here today because it's just me, but you can allow however many participants to go into however many rooms, and you can do it automatically or manually, and then you can create breakout rooms. So if they're doing specific topics and you have already broken them in, they can do that as well. So the breakout rooms is amazing. You can call them back, and then you can have more group. They can also connect with you somehow, either through email or a text, and say, hey, can you come to my breakout room? And then you can go in there and help them if they're having trouble, which is really helpful. And it's good for one-on-one time. The other thing that we're not able to see because there's just me in this right here, but usually at the top right, it'll say speaker view or gallery view. And gallery, this is something for you to tell them from the very beginning is 1, accept audio, 2, make it mute. They have to have their earbuds. And the last thing is so that you can look at everything in a sort of Brady Bunch fashion where everybody's on the same screen, and then it's just highlighted. And sometimes it's a little bit easier to do this in a group because you're able to mute people when you need to if somebody forgot to. So it's easier to do this. So I would suggest telling people that from the beginning. Once you've got their audio on, in the upper right hand corner, hit gallery view, and then you can see everybody. Now sometimes if you have a really big class of 150 people, you're not going to have 150 little squares on this one. I think it has like a 40 or 50 people on one screen kind of thing. So you can decide how many people, or maybe it's 30, I don't really remember. But I've been in rooms where I've had to go to 3 pages to see everybody who's in the chat or on the call, which is helpful. I hope this has helped. I do leave the reactions. I don't really know if anybody's ever used those. The screen share is, for me, most important. But if you're not planning on sharing your screen, you can say goodbye now and you don't have to listen anymore. But if you do, by chance, maybe you are teaching art or you're teaching design or you're teaching something where you are going to be walking through how to do something, either on the computer, a technical thing, or you're going to be editing something for them. So I could see how writers or English professors or something like that could use this as well. So I'm just going to pull up. Now, the first thing it does is prompts me to ask me, what do I want to share? And I think that this is important to know that there are 2 steps. And it's important for you to share this with your students, that if they're going to share something, they need to make sure that they have it on screen. So I'm just going to share an InDesign file. And here's the thing. Annotation works for them as well. They would just see this little thing, not stop share. You can actually control somebody's sharing as well. But I can annotate and you can annotate even when you don't. It's just under the More button when someone else is sharing. So I could go here and I could just circle something, and I don't have to have it in that color. I could change my color and now it would be red, and I could really talk about something that I was doing and I want them to move this and move it over. And then I simply just hit clear all my drawings, and there it is. So it's a beautiful way, but I actually could show them, once I get off the annotate, I could show them how to put stuff in and change something, or change the leading, or change whatever it is that I want to show them how to use the program. The thing is the thing has to be open. I'm going to stop share again. I'm going to do it one more time. If I wanted to just share my entire desktop or a connected tablet, I've done that. I have a iPad right here. When your iPad does have to be connected to your computer physically, tethered in, but you can select your whole desktop. I don't necessarily want to select my whole desktop because it's a little scary for you to see everything, to be honest. And my desktop's a mess. So I'm going to hit stop share. And I hope that you understand that it's going to look a little different when someone else is sharing, but there are 3 dots. There are 3 dots, and you can click that and then annotate. In that same way, I'm going to go back one more time. I don't think we'll be able to show this, but there is a way for you to, let's see. Over here in the 3 dots, when you're looking at someone else, you can have them, you can request remote control. By being the host, you can request remote control. And then you can disable remote control. So that's the other thing that I really use that maybe an English professor wouldn't need. But you could do breakout rooms straight from that as well. Full screen mode, which you're able to see now, but they aren't able to see. Do the full screen mode because they can't tell any difference. So you're just really going to have to go through things with the button. But what you don't want is if you're in Acrobat or something like that for all these things to be open. So I just minimize those so that they are just seeing what the deck is. You can see the chat. Like I could get up here and I could open the chat. The chat comes in another window. If you need help, I'd love to help you. If you think you are stuck somewhere, let me see if I can make another video. Just tell me down below, or wherever you've gotten this. You can always reach out to me at diane@rechargingyou.com. That's the easiest way to get to me, Diane, DIANE, @rechargingyou.com. And so I've told you how they can raise their hand. I've told you about annotation, that they'll be able to annotate and share their screen. You can share your screen. You can chat, use the gallery view, and just accept audio in the bottom left-hand corner, and then the virtual background. That's the only thing. Those are my... Anyway, that's it. I hope this helps, and let me know.